Ethan had always been a little clumsy, a little too curious for his own good. That trait had gotten him into trouble more than once on Earth. But here, in the heart of an alien palace, curiosity felt dangerous. The corridors stretched endlessly, twisting like a living maze, their walls shimmering with colors he couldn't name. The human delegation had warned him to stay close, to follow the guides, and to never wander. But Ethan's mind was restless. Something about the silence, the strange glow of the hallways, called him forward. He wanted to see everything. Not just the grand audience chambers, not just the polished floors, but the real life behind the alien royalties walls. He turned a corner too quickly, and a door appeared where he didn't expect one. A warm light spilled from its edges, golden and soft, almost inviting. For a moment he hesitated. Humans were not welcome here without permission. One step inside could ruin everything. But the door seemed different. Not guarded, not threatening, just open as if it wanted him to enter. Ethan pushed it slowly. The room beyond was unlike anything he had imagined. The walls glowed with a soft light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Exotic plants hung from shelves, their leaves shimmering faintly. A large window stretched from floor to ceiling, showing a view of a city that looked alive, with floating vehicles and towers that spiraled into the clouds. But all of that faded from Ethan's mind the moment his eyes fell on the wall across the room. There, framed carefully in what looked like crystal and gold, was a picture of him. Him, Ethan, froze. His heart skipped a beat. He took a step closer, his mouth dry, his hands trembling slightly. The image showed him exactly as he had been when humans first arrived on the alien world. Curious, hesitant, smiling nervously at beings who towered over him in every way. How could she have this? Who even was this? And yet the picture was not just a photo. It seemed alive. It glowed with a faint warmth as if it carried some emotion he couldn't name. Before he could process what he was feeling, a voice broke the silence. "You came here by mistake." Ethan spun around, his stomach twisting. Standing in the doorway was the princess herself. Her skin shimmered softly with colors that changed with her mood, and her eyes glowed like polished amber. She was taller than a human, but not frightening. There was a delicate strength to her, a calmness that made the room feel smaller in a comforting way. I didn't know," Ethan started, but the words faltered. He had prepared for meetings, for negotiations, for awkward small talk with alien dignitaries. He had not prepared for this. The princess smiled, a small, almost shy curve of her lips. "This room is private," she said. Her voice was melodic, soft, and strangely soothing, but there was an edge of curiosity in it. "Yet you are here. Perhaps it is fate, or perhaps mere accident." Ethan's eyes darted back to the picture. I don't understand," he whispered. Why is my picture here?" The princess stepped closer to the wall and gently touched the frame. "I remember you," she said quietly. "When humans first arrived, you were not like the others. You were different. Brave, curious, unafraid to look, to ask, to wonder. That is why I kept this." Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest. His voice caught in his throat. I never thought anyone would even notice me here," he admitted. The loneliness, the sense of being small in a world so much bigger than himself, rose in his throat. He had felt invisible among towering alien figures, insignificant in a civilization that seemed impossible to understand. The princess looked at him with eyes full of something humans rarely saw from alien beings. Admiration. "I notice. I remember," she said softly. "Even when others see weakness, you show strength. Even when they fear, you show hope." Ethan's heart pounded so loudly that he thought she could hear it. His world, once full of rules and fear, suddenly felt like it had shifted. In one quiet room with one glowing portrait, he realized that humans might be underestimated, but maybe, just maybe, they could be unforgettable too. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He could only stare at the picture, at the princess, and feel the weight of something far bigger than himself, something called recognition. Something called hope. Ethan's heart still raced, his eyes fixed on the glowing portrait. The room seemed to hum softly as if it held its own breath. The princess, standing a few steps away, watched him quietly. Her calm gaze was steady, yet there was something fragile in it, something human in the way she observed him. You know my name?" Ethan asked finally, his voice barely above a whisper. He felt like a child caught doing something forbidden, yet the weight of curiosity pushed him forward. The princess tilted her head slightly, a faint smile brushing her lips. Of course. I know many things about you, Ethan. Enough to recognize your courage, your kindness, and your heart. Ethan felt heat rise to his cheeks. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a human trying to survive among aliens far more advanced than him. But her words, they felt like a light in a dark tunnel. Someone saw him. Someone important, someone powerful, and not just saw him but admired him. You watched me? He asked, uncertain if he wanted the answer. I did, she said softly, her fingers brushing the edge of the glowing frame. Humans are rare here. You are rarer still, not because you are strong in body, but because you are strong in spirit. I remember the first time you spoke with the council. Others tried to impress them with words, but you spoke with truth, and truth is more powerful than any weapon. Ethan's chest tightened. He remembered the council meeting, the way aliens towered over him, their voices echoing, their eyes sharp and judgmental. He had felt small, exposed, completely out of place. Yet somehow the princess had noticed. She had seen him. Why me? He asked, his voice shaking slightly. I'm just a human. I'm nothing special. The princess stepped closer, her glow reflecting softly on his face. You underestimate yourself. Humans often do, but it is your simplicity, your honesty, your willingness to feel that makes you extraordinary. You care when others ignore. You hope when others despair. That is rare, Ethan. That is why your image hangs here. Ethan felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his composure. I never thought anyone would notice me, let alone care. Her smile widened, gentle and genuine. I care, and I believe others should too. Humans are underestimated, dismissed, treated as weak. But I know better now because I have seen what you are capable of. A lump formed in Ethan's throat. He had traveled across galaxies, faced danger, negotiated with beings whose technology and intellect dwarfed his own. And yet nothing had ever touched him like this quiet recognition. I wish, Ethan began, then paused. I wish humans could see themselves the way you see me. The princess's gaze softened, and for a moment, her alien features seemed almost human. Perhaps one day they will. Perhaps your courage, your heart, can be the bridge they need. You may think you are small, but your impact can echo across worlds. Ethan looked down at the floor, overwhelmed by the weight of her words. Then he glanced back at the portrait, illuminated softly by the golden light. It wasn't just a picture anymore, it was a symbol that humans, though underestimated, could inspire hope. Could matter, could be remembered. You make me feel like I belong, Ethan whispered, more to himself than to her. And you do, the princess said firmly, in this world, in my heart, and in the story that is yet to be written. For a moment silence fell between them, warm and comforting. The palace outside continued its hum, unaware of the small human moment taking place in a quiet, glowing room. Ethan felt a spark of courage ignite inside him, a realization that humans were not as fragile as the universe believed. Then the princess turned toward him, a serious expression shadowing her delicate features. But you must be careful, Ethan. Not everyone sees humans as I do. Not everyone will understand. There are those who would use you, or worse. You are a guest in my world, and the world outside these walls can be cruel. Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her warning. Fear threatened to rise again, but it was tempered by the warmth of her trust, her recognition, and her admiration. In that quiet golden room, he felt something he had never truly felt before. That maybe, just maybe, humans could matter in ways no one expected. Ethan felt a strange mix of warmth and fear as he followed the princess through the glowing corridors of her private chambers. The golden light of her room faded behind them, replaced by the cold metallic sheen of the palace hallways. Here, the alien grandeur was overwhelming. Towering ceilings, walls that shimmered with strange energy, and guards who moved with precision and silent authority. Humans were outsiders in this place, fragile and small, and Ethan felt every ounce of his size and inexperience. This way, the princess whispered, her voice barely audible yet commanding enough to keep him close. We must be careful. There are those who will not understand why I keep you here. They will question. Your presence, Ethan swallowed hard. He had always known the delegation's mission was risky, but he hadn't thought of personal danger like this. Now walking beside someone who seemed untouchable yet vulnerable in her own right, he realized the stakes. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, and they could both face consequences far worse. Then fear itself, why do you care so much? He asked quietly. Why protect me? The princess's eyes softened, but her expression held resolve. Because humans matter. You matter. And because someone has to see beyond fear, beyond politics, beyond tradition. Humans are underestimated. They think you are weak, small, expendable. But you are neither. I see you. Ethan felt a surge of pride, but it was tempered by anxiety. He wanted to believe her. But the palace corridors reminded him constantly how different he was. How fragile humans were in this alien world. Yet as they turned another corner, he caught a glimpse of guards whispering, their glowing eyes scanning the halls. Fear tightened in his chest, but the princess's presence calmed him. They suspect, she said softly, but not yet. You must trust me. Ethan nodded, stepping closer to her. Something about her presence, her quiet confidence made him feel braver than he had in his entire life. For the first time, he didn't feel like a small, insignificant human. He felt like someone who could make a difference, even if it was just by being himself. They paused at a large door, guarded by two tall figures who barely looked at them but radiated authority. The princess raised her hand and the guards immediately stepped aside. Ethan's heart pounded. He had witnessed alien power before, but seeing it used so effortlessly, so quietly, was terrifying and awe-inspiring at the same time. Inside the room beyond, the palace council gathered. Alien leaders of every shape and size were seated, their attention focused on glowing screens and floating holograms. The moment the princess entered, a hush fell over the chamber. Ethan felt the weight of their scrutiny, their unspoken judgment. He was just a human, small and fragile, standing in a world that didn't trust his kind. Yet the princess ignored the whispers. She held her head high, leading him into the room as though his presence was not just allowed but necessary. Ethan could feel the council's eyes on him, sharp and calculating. He felt exposed, vulnerable, like a single candle in a storm. And then he remembered her words. Humans matter. You matter. He straightened his back, lifted his chin, and met their gaze. His pulse thundered in his ears, but he refused to shrink away. The aliens exchanged glances, and some muttered under their breaths. They had underestimated humans before, dismissing them as weak, unworthy of trust. But here, in this moment, something in Ethan's posture, in the quiet courage in his eyes, made them pause. One of the counselors leaned forward, curious rather than hostile, and for a brief moment, Ethan felt the truth of what the princess had said. Humans were capable of more than anyone believed. The princess stepped beside him, her hand brushing his shoulder lightly. Stand firm, she whispered. Show them what they cannot ignore. Ethan drew a deep breath. The fear in his chest remained, but it was joined now by determination. If humans were going to survive in this galaxy, if they were going to be respected, he realized it might not be with weapons or strength, but with courage, honesty, and a refusal to be ignored. And as the council turned their attention to him, Ethan felt something new stir within. Not just hope, but the unmistakable spark of change. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Perhaps in this moment, a single human could begin to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Ethan could feel the council's eyes on him like a weight pressing into his chest. Every movement, every breath seemed measured, watched, judged. He had never felt so small in his life, yet something deep inside refused to shrink away. The princess stood beside him, her presence a quiet shield, and for the first time, he realized that courage was not about size or strength. It was about standing tall when fear threatened to consume you. One of the counselors, tall and with skin that glimmered like liquid silver, leaned forward. His voice was smooth but sharp. Princess Alara, he said, why have you brought a human here? You know the risks. You know what humans are capable of, and what they are not. The princess met his gaze without flinching. Humans are capable of more than you believe, she said firmly. This one in particular has shown courage and truth beyond what any of you could imagine. He is not just a human, he is a symbol. And I trust him. Ethan's stomach tightened. A symbol? Him? He was just a human, fragile and unprepared for this world of alien politics and silent threats. Yet her words sparked something inside him, a fire that made his pulse steadier, his heart bolder. He realized she believed in him more than he had ever believed in himself. You trust him? The silver-skinned counselor asked, disbelief clear in his tone. Do you not see the danger? Humans are unpredictable, they are weak. Ethan felt a cold sweat on his forehead. Every instinct screamed for him to step back, to bow, to hide. But then he remembered the glowing picture in her room, the words she had spoken, and the warmth of her gaze. He straightened his shoulders and lifted his chin. "I may be human," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. "I may be small, but that doesn't mean I am weak. I may stumble, I may fall, but I will stand again. I will face what must be faced, not for glory, not for power, but for what is right. And I will not let fear decide my actions." The room fell silent. Alien whispers buzzed like distant insects, and Ethan could feel the council shifting uneasily in their seats. The princess's hand brushed his, a subtle gesture of reassurance. He drew a deep breath, letting the fear wash over him and then flow out, replaced by something stronger: determination. "You speak boldly for a human," the counselor said, a trace of respect creeping into his tone. "But words are easy, actions." "Actions prove truth," Ethan nodded. "Then watch my actions. I may be small, but I will act with courage. I will protect, I will serve, and I will not back down even if the world doubts me. Because humans are more than you think. And I will show you that here and now." The princess's eyes glimmered with pride. She had seen the spark of humanity in him before, but now it burned brighter than ever. This was not just admiration, this was proof. Humans could rise even in worlds that seemed too vast and too hostile for them. The council murmured among themselves, some doubtful, some curious. Yet in that moment, Ethan realized something profound. It was not the council's acceptance he needed. It was his own courage, his own belief in what humans could do. That mattered most. The princess leaned closer and whispered, "You are braver than you know, Ethan, and today, the galaxy will see it too." Ethan felt a surge of warmth, not just from her words, but from a deep, unshakable truth inside him. Humans were underestimated, yes, but perhaps it was time to change that. Perhaps it was time to show the galaxy that courage, honesty, and heart mattered more than size, strength, or fear. And in that quiet, tense chamber, surrounded by alien eyes and cold authority, Ethan made a choice. He would not hide. He would not retreat. He would stand, he would act, and he would prove that humans could matter, even in the heart of an alien world. Ethan's heart pounded as he stepped out of the council chamber, the weight of their eyes still pressing on him. The princess walked beside him, her presence steadying, but the tension in the air was undeniable. Outside, the palace halls felt colder, sharper, filled with whispers and distant footsteps. Danger was close. Someone would challenge his presence soon. He could feel it. "Ethan," the princess said quietly, her voice calm but urgent. "The council may test you further. You cannot simply stand and speak anymore. You must act. Show them who humans truly are." Ethan swallowed hard. Act, his mind raced. He was a human, fragile and small, and yet the spark the princess had lit within him refused to die. He remembered the picture on her wall, the warmth of her words, the faith she had in him. He was not invisible. He was not weak, and for the first time, he truly believed he could rise to the moment. They reached a vast chamber where alien emissaries were gathered, murmuring and exchanging quick, sharp glances. The princess led Ethan to the center, her hand brushing his shoulder reassuringly. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the fear settle into determination. This was not just about him. It was about proving the worth of humans in a galaxy that underestimated them at every turn. A sudden alarm echoed through the hall, high-pitched and urgent. Guards rushed past, and a floating display showed an intruder moving through the palace corridors. The council erupted in panic, their fear sharp and palpable. "Now," the princess said, her voice low but firm, "show them what courage looks like." Ethan moved instinctively, following the direction she indicated. Humans were small and nimble, and he could move where others would be slowed by size and protocol. Every step was careful but swift, guided by the princess's calm directions. His mind was sharp, his instincts alert. The fear he had felt moments ago transformed into a kind of clarity, a human clarity that didn't rely on technology or strength but on adaptability, bravery, and quick thinking. They reached a chamber where the intruder had entered. It was not a human or an ally. It was a rogue alien attempting sabotage. The emissaries had already panicked, their forms flashing with defensive energy, but they hesitated to act. Ethan could see the hesitation, the doubt that came from underestimating him. He stepped forward. "Stay back," he commanded, his voice firm despite his racing heart. "I can handle this." The intruder turned, surprised at the small human standing before them. But Ethan was fast. Ooh, saying clever timing, precise movement, and pure courage. He disarmed the alien's energy weapon, moving with a determination that no one expected. The emissaries watched, stunned, as the human, so small, so underestimated, took control of a dangerous situation with nothing but quick thinking and bravery. The princess's eyes glimmered with pride. "You see?" she whispered. "This is what I told them. Humans are capable of more than anyone believes." Ethan stood tall, breathing heavily, the adrenaline making him feel both exhausted and alive. Around him, the alien's fear and doubt slowly shifted into cautious respect. Whispers replaced panic, and eyes that had once been sharp and skeptical now held a glimmer of admiration. He looked at the princess, whose gentle smile warmed him like sunlight. "You believed in me," he said quietly. "I always did," she replied. "And now the galaxy sees it too." Ethan's chest swelled with something he had never fully felt before. Pride, not in himself alone, but in humans. For too long, humans had been seen as small, weak, and fragile. But here, in the heart of an alien palace, a human had acted with courage, heart, and intelligence, and changed the way beings far stronger than him would see his species forever. The intruder was restrained, the threat neutralized, and the council, though still cautious, could no longer deny the human's capability. Ethan had acted. He had stood. He had shown that humans mattered, and for the first time he truly believed it. The palace was quieter now, but the tension still lingered in the air like smoke. Ethan walked beside the princess, feeling the echoes of what had just happened. The rogue intruder had been contained, and the council had retreated to their chambers, whispering among themselves. Yet Ethan's mind was not at ease. He had acted, he had proven something, but at what cost? "Ethan?" the princess said softly, her voice breaking the heavy silence. "Do you understand what you have done?" He shook his head slightly. I saved the palace. The intruder." His voice faltered. "I did what I could. But I keep thinking, what if I had failed?" The princess stopped and turned to face him. Her glowing eyes met his with unwavering calm. "And yet you did not fail. You acted when others hesitated. You stood when others would have run. That is not weakness, Ethan, that is courage. That is what makes humans remarkable." Ethan's chest tightened. He had never felt so small and so important at the same time. Every step he took as a human in this alien world felt like walking on a bridge between two worlds. One that feared him, one that admired him, and one that still doubted what humans were capable of. The princess had trusted him, and her trust was heavier than any weapon, more powerful than any counselor's scrutiny. Ethan began, struggling for the words. "I still feel like I don't belong here. I'm just a human, fragile, weak, not like you." The princess smiled softly, stepping closer. "Fragile?" she asked, almost teasing. "No, Ethan. Humans are not fragile. You are fragile only if you believe it. You are strong in ways many beings will never understand. Strength is not about size or speed or power. It is about heart. You have heart, and you have proven it today." Ethan looked down at his hands, trembling slightly. He remembered the moments in the chamber. The fear, the adrenaline, the way every alien's gaze seemed to pierce him. Yet in all of that, he had acted. He had moved faster, thought clearer, and stood taller than anyone expected. He was human, and that had been enough. The princess reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against his arm. "I have placed my trust in you, Ethan. That is not something I give lightly. You have carried it with grace. Remember this. Humans can inspire, can lead, and can change worlds. Not because they are invincible, but because they have courage and heart. You have shown both." Ethan felt a warmth he could not describe, a mixture of pride, relief, and awe. He had always doubted himself, always believed that humans were small, insignificant, just pawns in a universe that didn't care. But now he had proof. The princess had shown him that courage, honesty, and compassion were more powerful than any weapon or technology. He looked at her, his voice barely a whisper. I want to live up to that trust, to show that humans really can matter." "You already have," she said, her smile radiant, "and you will continue to. But remember, courage is not always about grand actions. Sometimes it is about standing firm when the world doubts you. Sometimes it is about protecting others, even when it is hard, even when it is dangerous. That is what makes humans extraordinary." Ethan nodded slowly, absorbing her words. The weight of her trust was heavy, yes, but it was also liberating. It reminded him that humans were capable of more than anyone, even themselves, could imagine. As they walked toward the princess's private chambers, Ethan realized something profound. He did not have to be invincible to matter. Being human, being courageous, being willing to act with heart, that was enough. And in this vast galaxy, where humans were often underestimated, that was already extraordinary. For the first time, Ethan felt fully alive in an alien world, not as a small outsider, but as a human who could change how others saw his species. And he knew, without doubt, that the princess believed in him, and that belief was more powerful than any fear he had ever known. Morning light spilled gently into the princess's private chamber, painting the walls with golden hues. Ethan stood by the window looking out at the alien city below, his mind still heavy with the events of the night. The rogue intruder had been stopped. The council had witnessed his courage, and yet he felt something deeper stirring inside, a realization that humans could truly matter in a universe that had long underestimated them. The princess appeared beside him, quiet and graceful as ever. She did not need to speak. Her presence alone was enough to calm his racing thoughts. Finally, she broke the silence. "Ethan, look at the picture," she said softly, pointing to the crystal-framed portrait that had first drawn him into this room. Ethan turned, and his gaze fell on the image. The photograph glowed faintly, bathed in the morning light. Seeing himself there again after everything that had happened felt different. This was no longer just a reminder of her memory of him. It was a symbol that humans were capable of courage, compassion, and heart, even in worlds that seemed impossible to conquer. "You saved more than the palace," the princess whispered, her voice full of pride. "You saved belief. You saved hope. You reminded everyone, even me, that humans can matter, even where no one expects them to." Ethan's chest swelled with emotion. He had never imagined that a human could leave such a mark on an alien civilization, that one small being, fragile and uncertain, could inspire trust, respect, and admiration. Yet here he was, living proof that courage and heart transcended species, size, and expectations. He swallowed, fighting back the lump in his throat. I never thought I could make a difference," he admitted quietly. "I always thought humans were too small, too weak, too ordinary." The princess placed her hand over his, warm and gentle. "You were never ordinary, Ethan. You are extraordinary. And now the galaxy will see it too. The council may take time to understand, but they cannot forget what they witnessed. Humans are not just visitors. They are capable of greatness." Ethan looked back at the city through the window, feeling the weight of her words settle in his heart. For the first time, he felt a deep, unshakable pride in being human. It was not the strength of their technology or the size of their armies that defined them. It was their courage, their adaptability, their willingness to stand and act when others faltered. Humans were underestimated for too long, but that was changing, and he was part of that change. The princess smiled, her eyes shining with warmth and admiration. "Keep this memory, Ethan," she said, gesturing to the glowing portrait. "Whenever you doubt yourself, remember what you are capable of. Remember that humans can inspire, lead, and protect, even in the most impossible places." Ethan nodded slowly, feeling a sense of purpose he had never felt before. The portrait was no longer just an image. It was a testament, a promise, and a reminder that courage and heart could move worlds. He turned to the princess, gratitude spilling from his heart. "Thank you," he said simply, "for seeing me, for believing in me." She gave him a gentle smile. "Humans are often overlooked, Ethan, but they can shine when the moment calls, and you have shined brighter than anyone expected." As Ethan prepared to return to the human delegation, he felt a quiet strength within him. He had entered the princess's room by mistake, but what he found there changed everything. He found recognition, trust, and hope. He found proof that humans mattered, not because of what they could destroy, but because of what they could inspire. And as he stepped back into the corridors of the palace, he glanced once more at the glowing portrait. The princess was smiling gently, and in that image Ethan saw not just himself, but every human who dared to act with courage in a world that underestimated them. In that moment, he understood the truth of it. Humans could matter anywhere, even in the heart of the stars. and one small human could change the way the galaxy saw them forever.